everyone, how you doing? I'm Rhiannon Edwards, author of the Aphora duology and the upcoming trilogy Bloodline Alliance. Today I'm going to talk about my first beta reading experience, and by that I mean getting other people to read my story. I didn't do that with the Aphora duology, and given what I've learned now, I feel like I wish I had done that. It's a really valuable experience to go through. You're getting lots of people, or a handful of people, strangers, to read your story and give you feedback on that. Because obviously when you read it, you're reading it all the time. I do have some alpha readers, so they sort of read the story for me just after I finish the first sort of draft to help me move that on, but they are friends, so, and as much as they are amazing, you do want to utilize other people. For me, I was really nervous using betas because, well, I think in America they pronounce it beta readers. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna go with beta. But yeah, I was really nervous. So I'm quite a sort of shy person, so putting my work out there was quite nerve-wracking, for openly putting it out there for critique. Like, that was a really big step. But the critique that came back was amazing, and by amazing I mean there was things that needed working on, obviously, and there was a bit of up and down with some of the comments, but overall it was a really positive experience. So, you know, when I wanted to get betas, I didn't know where to start. So I went onto Facebook, and there are quite a few groups on Facebook specifically for beta readers. I did use Google Docs, which was great. So some people use that as well, which means they comment as they go. So I could see it as they were doing it, which meant I didn't have to wait for it all to come back before I could start actioning it. So that was actually quite helpful. Again, I wasn't very specific on timings. I wasn't very specific on questions. I think obviously I was just quite inexperienced and didn't know. So next time I'll have a better idea of what sort of things I want to ask for, and I'm definitely going to give a deadline date. The biggest thing I need to explain about betas is that it is opinions. I think I touched on this in my last video actually, but it is people's opinion. So just because somebody doesn't like one little aspect doesn't mean that little aspect is wrong or not right. I mean, you shouldn't ignore it completely, but I did take the time to sort of dive into that a little bit more, look at my other beta feedback, you know, read that through again, discuss with a close friend of mine, and which is really good for like bouncing ideas off. And so I did think it through quite thoroughly, so I didn't just immediately disregard any negative feedback before you say anything. I had one who didn't read at all, so added him on to my Google Docs, and he just didn't read it, didn't open it. Messaged him a few weeks later asking how things were going, and not really much response. He was like, yeah, good. So I took him off that. I was like, well, you're not reading it, which is fine. Not everyone's going to read it. I've done a critique swap. So another author sent me her first chapter, and I sent her my first 3. Her first chapter was really long, so we matched up word count and we did a bit of a critique swap. And then on Twitter, another author was offering a critique swap for the first chapter, so I took that up, and so I've had that critiqued and back as well. So, you know, sometimes I've had critiques, sometimes had beta readers, sometimes it's for only the first few chapters. Most of the time it was for the whole story. And I think I was a bit too overwhelmed to collate it all together. So I would go through chapter by chapter on my laptop, and at each chapter I would look at the different feedback for each beta reader, if that makes sense. So I was doing it slowly, bit by bit. And something I do want to say. is that sometimes I thought if somebody's mentioned something that I didn't agree with, I would think, okay, have I not explained this properly? So it wasn't necessarily that the point they were talking about was wrong and should be taken out of the book completely, but it was more, have I explained that properly? Could I do a better job? So that was where most of my thinking went. Biggest issue I had was one commenter. I'm going to call them a bit of an outlier. So to begin with, they were the first person that started commenting. So I was really, really blimmin' nervous at this point. She told me I needed to do my research because I had too much violence. And I was like, right, okay. She listed off murder and like abuse and stuff like that as all being normal in young adult books. But me talking about a bit of gore was over the top. And I was like, how many YA books have I read? Thousands and thousands and thousands. Research, done. So that is literally one paragraph that I went into a bit of detail on how this tortured person looked like. And it was literally a sentence. So out of the whole paragraph where I discussed the tortured body, it was a sentence that had probably a bit of gore in. I took out one little bit and left the rest in there because I thought, no, this is fine. Everyone else has loved it. I've gone to other people and asked for their advice, so I think that's okay. I really enjoyed my beta experience. I will definitely do it again for future books. I've asked 3 betas if they would read the second book for me, and they all said yes. So it can't be that bad. Really glad I did it because it was so positive, and to get positive feedback on something that you've worked really hard on is like, it's really nice, not gonna lie. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? So if you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!